Welcome to our 13th Virtual Thursday of 2017. My name is Tom Lewis. I'll be your trainer for the next hour as we go over the latest and greatest in system reports. So my plan for today is to summarize the changes and additions to reports here within the reports module. I'm going to look at a couple accounts here as we go through this so you can kind of see how these reports present in a live account. Feel free to follow along with me in your account if you have the luxury of either splitting your current screen or if you have a dual screen display, and follow along with me as far as following along in your account, and if you have questions as you run these reports in your account. Okay, so let's see here. I'm flying solo today, and I'm coming off of a trip. Flew in last night from an international training event, so hopefully jet lag won't be apparent in the presentation today as we get going. But please send in your questions as you have in the past. Those of you that have attended these virtual Thursday sessions, I will repeat the questions so everybody can. I don't know if everybody can see the questions. I know we've tried to set the GoToMeeting account to show that, to where you can see other questions that participants are posting. If not, I'll just repeat them as I answer them. Want to do a quick shout out to people I recognize here today. Greg Lopez out at Marine Corps Air Station Yuma. Greg, good to see you. And Natalie Durham, who attended our Cleveland Regional Training Academy. She's with us. And let's see if we got any other staff from emergency reporting. I got Nicole as Nicole's my wingman here today. So, or wing woman, I should say. She's she can be Maverick, I'll be Goose. How's that? So Nicole, she's our regional training coordinator. So if any of you have needed to speak with someone in the office regarding either on-site training or online training, Nicole would have been the person you would have connected with. So thanks, Nicole. I'm glad you're here with me today. All right, let's do this. First things first, I'm going to send you a quick link. I just want to do a plug for our National Training Academy, our first ever National Training Academy. We've got quite an event lined up. It's a 3-day event, 2 groups, 25th through the 27th of September, and then again from the 27th through the 29th. And you only have to sign up for one. And if you click on the link I sent you and then click on the detailed agenda, you're going to get this PDF that summarizes the event. We've got some fantastic speakers. Chief Alan Brunacini is going to be there on the first day. I'm very honored to have him come and speak. He's kind of been one of my fire service heroes after spending over 20 years in the fire service and being here in Arizona. We've got Chief Bob Kuntz at Fort Campbell. He will be speaking, as will, let's see, the retired Army Fire Chief John Erickson will be talking about 1500. We've got David Richardson out of Midwest City, one of our power users, as well as a former ISO employee. He's going to talk about how ISO and emergency reporting can help your ISO score significantly. In fact, his department just went through an ISO audit. And there's just a lot of good things here. And I don't want to take up our training time going into the weeds with it, but definitely click and explore. We'd love to see you there. Seats are starting to fill up. So we're very happy about that, and see if you can make it. It is indeed geared towards power users, administrators, chief officers, but I'll be honest, if you're the go-to guy or girl in your department for emergency reporting and a power user, you're going to get a lot out of this event. It's going to be a lot of fun. So, all right, without further ado, let's go straight into the reports. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through specific reports that have either changed or have been added to the system in late Q2 and Q3. As we go through it, just shoot off your questions and I will answer them. In fact, I want to answer one right now. Brian is asking, please make a comment when the reports or features pertain only to the full-blown version versus like a demo version, for example. So what's important to know is that in your reports, the reports are going to be driven by what type of ER account you have and by the levels of permissions that you have. So in order to have access to the reports module, you would have had to have been granted privileges to this module, and it looks like this. And then the other question that comes into play so privileges are listed here. And even if you're not an administrator, don't worry. Just know that if you're responsible for pulling out reports, you have to have access to the reports module, and there's only two choices, none or full. But the other key thing to keep in mind is with reports is that in order for you to even access reports pertaining to a module, you have to have access to that module as well. Okay? And so if you have access to the module and access to reports, you'll be good to go. But for example, if you don't have access to analytics, okay, any reports pertaining to analytics won't appear. And I guess a better example would probably be maintenance. So if you have no access to maintenance, but you do have access to reports, those maintenance reports won't even appear in this list here. It'll be a compressed list. So there's two variables, access to modules, okay, I'm sorry, access to the reports module, and then access to the specific module from which you want to extract a report. Okay. And as we navigate this, Greg, great point. There is a master list of reports. I think it's 849 or 649, 779. Can't keep these all in track. Keep track of these. So here, report number 779, okay, is a master list of reports. And this summarizes all of our reports available in the system. So it is a PDF. However, you can extract this out into Excel and filter it or sort it by module, high to low by document ID. And one thing that I'm sure many of you already know, but I'm going to mention anyway, is that the document ID number, okay, appears in the lower right corner of every report. And the numbers the only thing to keep in mind with the actual number is the higher the number, the newer the report. There's no special or secret coding that certain numbers are for certain modules. It's as the reports are developed, a new number is added. So you can see we've got this 1708 as a new report. That's one of our newer reports. So the higher the number, the newer the report. And Greg, you are right. I have what I'm going to share with everybody is a couple files here before we wrap up. I have some list of reports that will be helpful for year-end reporting as well as for the training module. So they're not necessarily new reports, although some of them are. They're just a list of reports that summarize when they come in handy for reporting and telling your story to your department or to your community. Okay, so first report I want to go over is report number 1687. This is a newer report, but one of the things that we fixed in this report was that it shows the agency ID in the column. And this, if we have any California customers on board, okay, we'll do 2017. If we have any California customers on board, this is the report that you download into text format. And it's called a text download, okay? But what it is an Excel download that allows you to then work with the data in an unformatted unformatted form. And this one is particularly helpful because these training codes, this report in the text download is exactly what CalJack wants in California. And what CalJack is, for those of you that aren't California customers, is it's an entity in California that accepts training data, and they fund a portion of a department's training budget. And that's it in a nutshell. I'm sure those of you in California know much more about CalJack, but this was a huge ask from our California customers that document all of their training within the system. But if you're not a California customer, it's still a helpful report to show you the training codes completed per person and then the agency ID number listed here. That's report 1687. There have been multiple, and I'll give you some examples of them later on, but there are multiple reports that have had, you probably run into it, where they have blank pages popping up. So you've got the data, a blank page, then more data. We fixed a handful of those, and I've got that in my list to go over here to show you an example of those, but I wanted to mention that for those of you that have been running into any kind of errors or blank pages in reports. Okay, report number 1611. So this is a newer report as well. It's equipment history for category, for subcategory, for maintenance, for type date range, for maintenance type for date range. So we love the titles of these reports because we've got to kind of decipher them. But remember, my favorite thing to remember here is the word for. For equals filter equals friend. That means in most cases there's a pick list. And in many cases with the newer reports, there's multi-pickers, like here. All right, so for example, let's say I want to see my SCBA category, my 60-minute cylinders, maintenance done on them for a year, all right, but I want to pick certain maintenance types. I just want to see, well, let's say we'll do two, we'll pick multiple. I want to see anytime we had a major repair, or a minor repair, or a moderate repair. I can then group this into one selection called repair. Click OK. Now each time I go to this report, my picker, my group has been saved. I don't have to go in and pick multiple each time. So let me create this report to show you what it looks like, and I'll tell you what was corrected on it. Okay, they have nothing there in that one, so we're going to go with everything. And I'm using a live account from one of our trainers, Steve and Jean, out in Lockheed Martin. They do a great job with emergency reporting, and I know his account would have terrific data in it, and as I see it, it does. And one of the things that we have to keep in mind, let me make it bigger for everybody. So we've got major repair. They're using facilities. Let me find one that's not a facility. Okay, so a fire alarm, minor repair. And then one of the things we fixed in this report is that the cost was not displaying correctly. Now they're not entering the dollar value here, but if you did, it's going to now display correctly. All right, that's a fix we did. So question, are those maintenance types, so for example here, are they preloaded or can we load specific types per department? These are hard-coded. So these particular maintenance types are all hard-coded. At the moment, we're unable to allow customization of that to where you can go in and just add your own types of repairs, but I can tell you we have added preventative maintenance. That was a huge ask, and we've added fuel. Those two have been added recently. Going back to the groupings, if I ever need to delete or edit a grouping, and this applies for all multi-pickers, I'm going to go here, pick multiple again. I'm going to go up to the upper right. So I know some of you have run into this where you created a group, but you either don't need it or you need to edit it. Okay? All you need to do is go in and load that selection. It will auto-populate what you've selected, and then you can add or remove whatever you'd like from this pick list here. Or if you want to just get rid of it, just click delete, and it's gone. Any other questions so far? Okay, since I'm flying solo here, I'm working off of 2 screens, so bear with me as I confirm. Okay, no questions, very good. Okay, and what I'm going to do is we're going through this, guys, is some of these reports I'm going to mention aren't just to show you the changes to them or new reports. It's also going to kind of give you an insight on when you might want to use these. So report number 1645 has been fixed to correctly show the number of transports. I had run into this one before and helped the customer with it. So This is a great high-level report to show you the total number of incidents, EMS and fire. So basically this is pulling 300 series and 100 series calls, transports per apparatus, and keep in mind that this is pulling from what you select as far as the patient disposition. And so whether or not that patient was transported or not, okay, how many patients were transported. And so when you see that, and again, this may not be the best example because they're not a transporting agency per se, but you can document it by apparatus. And so don't expect that the numbers to be exact, especially if you double up on patients or triple up on patients per unit. All right, it'll show the total number of patients transported and the number of patient contacts, whether or not they were transported or not by apparatus. So that was updated to reflect the correct data. It was pulling not the correct data previously, and now it's pulling it correctly. And it's going to be based off your an NEMSIS 2 customer. It's going to be based on whether this patient. The question that is asked is was patient transported by this unit, and then the disposition on NEMSIS 3. Questions on this report? Again, make a note of it if you're not using it. It's just a really great high-level report, real simple for presentation purposes. Report number 549. This is count of aid given and received for incidents for date range. So this is just a count report. However, it was miscounting before, and it was including exposures, and so it was throwing off the numbers. Now it doesn't include exposure, so it just counts per incident. So if you had an incident with multiple exposures, it would add to it here and not reflect the true actual physical presence at an incident. I hope that makes sense. So this report has been updated to reflect that. Only primary or exposure number 0 is included. Great question. Going back to 1645, Greg's got a question on this. So are the times under lights and sirens category, was it for all incidents or in general? So here, this is lights and sirens average response time. These are all calls. Well, let me rephrase. In this column, it's 300 series calls, and in this column, it's 100 series calls. And then the average for all calls is right here. And I'll be honest, Greg, I would have to confirm. I would need to confirm if when it says all calls, if it's pulling every single call or averaging just fire and EMS. And I think it's just fire and EMS. And if that's the case, I would recommend changing the description here, but it's possible it's including all of them, but I will check on that one. I'm gonna make a note of that. So 1645. And then one other trick I want you guys to know, if you don't already, is that in most cases, not all, but in most cases at the bottom of the report, it's gonna be a description on the criteria, parameters, where this data is being pulled from. So 1645, confirm, average times. All right, thanks, Greg. 1679, another good report. Summary ISO hours, training hours for personnel per class category. So before this report did not summarize by class category, now it does. So the class category, when they're being used, will be summarized here as a header. So if you have fire training, it'll show fire training or fire operations as one of your categories. And then break it out by hours per person. That's correct, Greg. Those are lights and sirens calls only, correct, on 1645. So the question was, on report 1645, that previous report, is it only pulling lights and sirens times? That is correct, only when lights and sirens are selected for the response mode. Okay, 1641. So this is one of my favorite reports of all time, is 1641. This is your aggregate response time compliance by incident type for response mode and date range. Here's why I like this report. I see lots of multi-pickers here. So for example, August, first arriving unit, 7 minutes. I'm going to pull just lights and sirens. All stations, all zones. Second due unit needs to be there within 10. And I'm just going to run it for all incident types. The change to this report is this. At patient time, that column was added. So we had a lot of our EMS, actually, yeah, our EMS customers, but they don't even have to be transporting agencies. They just wanted to have in here, in this report, when the patient arrived. Let me zoom in to show you that, guys. I know it's small. So this column was added right here. But the reason I love this report so much is it's capturing your first 4 units, okay, for an incident, and it's letting you know if it complied with the criteria, the compliance time listed here. And then it summarizes it for the calls and then for each apparatus. That's report number 1641. It's a really well-designed report, and it tells a good story because it's breaking it out by incident, and you can again filter it down to just show a certain incident type and to see if you're meeting your response times and to see more of the data about that incident there as well. Just a good report. Bouncing over to questions. So Matt mentioned report number 640, committed time for medic units. We do not have any data that shows up. I will explain that report. Let me get through the presentation, Matt, and then at the end, don't let me forget, I'll pull that report up and we'll talk about where it's pulling data from. Greg wants to know on 1641, is there still talk about an apparatus picker on this report? Greg, I don't know. However, let me ask everybody this, and you can chime in with your comments. The potential would be to do an apparatus picker, but it would just filter certain apparatus that responded. Would it be better, again, everybody, would it be better if we did, instead of a per apparatus, that we did a multi-picker for apparatus type? In other words, you don't worry about a lot of people, they don't count their chief's vehicles, or they don't count support vehicles, or they don't count apparatus. You could include or exclude apparatus types, the Nfpa's classification, in this report to reflect just those first 4, say, engines, or the first 4 units, such as engines, trucks, tenders. Would that be a good picker for everybody on this one? And just, throw down your comments if you think it would be a good picker for that. That seems it might be a more even beneficial picker than just per apparatus. Okay, and Doug, too, on that other report, you mentioned incident detail for aid given and received. Let's see, was that a report I showed earlier? Yeah, 549. So here's the deal with reports. If you see, and this is really important, if you see something you'd like in a report that's not currently there, there is a process we have for enhancing existing reports. Thanks, Todd and Greg, for those responses, and Matt, and Brian, appreciate it. The second choice apparatus type. Okay. And so let's see. The question was by Douglas was, can the incident detail for aid given and received for incident type show what city or aid was given to. So if it doesn't currently show it, okay, if it doesn't currently show it, then we have a process that we go through for enhancing reports. Now those are those are what we call paid reports, and so any changes to a report that you need for your agency, you can reach out to either your regional rep, sales rep, a trainer, and then we can do what's called, we give you an estimate, we do a quote for what it would cost to enhance that report. And there's a process. So without getting into the details now, there's a process for it. But if you're interested, let one of us know, and then we can work together to mock it up. There's a base charge for mocking it all up, and then if you decide to go with the report, that essential deposit is applied towards the cost of the report. Okay, let me go through the new and changed reports, and then I'll definitely answer questions on specifics regarding the questions that are coming in regarding where can I find a report to do this and that, and I want to make sure I address those because I think that'll be super helpful for everybody today. Okay, so another set of reports that are brand new, those of you that are in wildland country, we have a whole starting out in the 1700s, we have the following reports, and I'm just going to introduce them to you. 1709. Oh, of course it timed out. Hang on. Hang on, guys. I got to get back into that account. Do-do-do. All right. Don't leave. I am finding it. I just got to, I let it go too long before it timed out on me. Okay, so this is a series of National Association of State Foresters. Some of our northern states, North Dakota in particular, want a state report. And so we can run a report that shows this. This is not unlike the other report I had showed you, and I'm going to download this into. So you can see it in the full picture. So this is something our states that are documenting their wildland incidents have asked for. And so let me show you this because it's impossible to see it in the PDF format. So here, it's pulling in all of the data. You can see across the table here, county, district, incident number, incident name, and a lot of the data that's needed to report to the National Association of State Foresters. Okay, so if you're in one of those states that reports to that, okay, that's report number 1709, and it's under our group reports. And one of the things with group reports that I want to mention, you may have seen that pop up in your reports tab here. Let me show it to you real quick here before we do 1710. So you've got this one category called group reports. Depending on the state, you're going to have a list of reports. What the group reports do is they allow you to reach into other emergency reporting accounts, and if they're linked accounts, like in our case, we've got the state of Pennsylvania. We are their inverse solution. All right, the Marine Corps, we're their solution. So this is an opportunity for a single login and a group account to be able to pull data from other emergency reporting accounts. It's brand new, And so it's going to pertain to those instances that I had mentioned previously, and in a case like North Dakota, where you can pull these group reports. And right now they're just wildland reports, but more will be coming for states like Pennsylvania and others. Let me look at questions coming in here. Okay. 1710, and I'm just going to show these briefly because I know they're not fully applicable to everybody, but again, if you are in one of those states, you can see we've got these reports that need to be presented, and you've got the cause, number of acres, and it gives a really nice total for presenting your data to the reporting body, whether it's at the state or national level. That's 1710. 1711. Incident summary. And see, when you see group accounts, these are all the North Dakota departments tied to this group. So I could just pick a single report. And I know the Marine Corps, Greg, who's listening in Pennsylvania, are like, yes, group reports. So they can just log in once and grab the reports instead of running a report for each account that you're responsible for. Okay, breakdown here. $17.12. Wildfires by acres, or fires per cause and class per date range. This is going to get details. And all the counties for the state are listed, so we can run it by county or all counties and all groups. And then you can see the breakdown, the NFIRS code, the department, and acreage. 1714 is the last one. And that one's not pulling up, which means it's either one not yet in the system, or I have to search by title currently. I'll look that one up here in a moment. Okay, so Brian, which report? So this is actually kind of helpful. Brian, you must be in North Dakota. So talk to me on which report you want me to run for Arnagard County or McKenzie County. And that way we can show some live account from somebody who's participating today. In the meantime, while Brian's sending that note, we're going to go to 1515. Okay, before totals were truncated. Okay, this account doesn't have that. So let's go to 1714 here. Okay, so this is a perfect example, guys, what I was just doing, that I want you to see that you might run into. Okay, you'll notice here this group account. See how compressed this list is? These are the only modules they have. So 1714 is a training report. No, 1515. Actually, 1714 is a training report. Yes, it is. And so when I go to search for it, there's no results. The reason being is they don't have the training module, or in your cases, it could be that you don't have access to the training module. Okay? But here, in my other account, 1714 is available because this account has training and I have permissions to both the reports module and to the training module. So let's run this one to show you what's changed here. It was truncating the totals. So cutting off part of the totals, and now it's not. Again, I know these aren't like sexy fixes or sexy new reports, but they are reports that when you're running these, they drive you crazy when it's not working exactly the way you want it to. And so we're doing our best. You guys, I can't tell you how great our customer base is. They let us know when something needs to either be fixed or they want a certain feature. And we do our very best to respond as promptly as possible, especially when there's reports that are either broken reports or the data doesn't display the way you want it to display. And so this was one of those examples. Someone called in and said, hey, it's cutting off the times. and or it's truncating the times. We need to fix that. And so actually in this case it was the totals, and now we fix that. So little fixes like that. Okay, so here's an example back into North Dakota for report number 1710. And we're going to run it for Arnegard. I don't see that one. Or McKenzie County. So I'm wondering, these are the only counties that are apparently in this account. Let's try 1712. Unless I'm looking right at it, I don't see the names of those counties. It stops at Lee. So why would it stop at the L's? I don't know. We'll have to look into that if there's more. That's true, Brian. It is very true. There may not be any, and that could be the case. Good catch. It's possible that there's no calls for that county, and therefore it's not showing up here as an option. And some of our pickers are getting smarter, these pickers. If there's no data, it's not available. Some of our pickers, even if there's no data, it's still, you can pick from it. And that may very well be the case in this instance for this group report. Very cool. Good catch, Brian. Okay, here's one thing, everybody that's using either NEMSIS 2 or NEMSIS 3. This has been a big ask, and we're working aggressively on getting this taken care of. But if you do a search in your account for N2, for example, or better still, let's say if you're an N3 customer, do a keyword search N3. What I want you to look at is that right now, and we have more EMS reports than this, but we have been working, the team has prioritized the reports that they're working on that were just NEMSIS 2. So those of you that are still NEMSIS 2, which are many of our customers because their states aren't yet accepting NEMSIS 3 data. So if you're NEMSIS 2, all your EMS reports are going to work. But those that have been moved to NEMSIS 3, not all of the old EMS reports, and not incident reports, but system reports, weren't pulling data from NEMSIS 3. So you're only getting NEMSIS 2 data. The developers are fixing that to where it pulls from both the old tables, NEMSIS 2 tables, and the new NEMSIS 3 tables. And to find out whether or not an EMS report that you're using is now NEMSIS 3, just type in N3 in the search field, not 2, 3, and you're going to see in parentheses N2-N3. That indicates that all of these EMS reports pull from both NEMSIS 2 and from NEMSIS 3. All right, so back here in reports, if we go to, I'm going to go back to, all right, I'm going to go back to incidents. I'm going to go to EMS. Okay, and there's quite a few reports here in EMS. Not all of them yet pull from, for example, let's see how medication's given. Yeah, those two have been updated, so N2 and N3. So whenever you see N2-N3, you're good to go for both old data and newer data. When you see patient age breakdown, like all three of these weren't the highest priority reports, so they're still working on those, which means it's only pulling from NEMSIS 2. That's how you can determine whether or not it's going to be pulling from your NEMSIS 3 data. And I know there's probably some reports that you're pulling from that, man, I wish we had the NEMSIS 3. So here, 2 out of the 3 pull from both. Offload times per hospital for date range is not yet pulling from NEMSIS 3. Any questions on those? Okay, and I can tell you that's really summarizing the major changes and additions to the reports module for Q3. I can tell you that there's many more reports being worked on. We have a dedicated team working just on reports now, so there's more coming. And I can't emphasize enough that if you see a report that you love, but it's just missing a certain pick list, for example, like Greg had mentioned about report 1641 not having an apparatus type or an apparatus picker, let us know. And then if you want to proceed, we can get the ball rolling on that and get mock-ups generated. All right, so let's do this. I want to go through now some questions, report specific questions, or is there a report that can do this in the system? I will do my best to find them for you. So let's see here. So, and those of you that are on board listening, if you know the answer, type in the report number or the name and I'll pull it up, because there's so many reports. Or, our training team, we're good, but we don't remember everything as much as we wish we could. So if you know the answer to the question, shoot it out there and I'll pull that report up. So Steven's asking, is there a report showing an average number of personnel per call for a month? So the question is average number of personnel per call for a month. Good question. I don't know if there's one for average, but I know there's reports that show for personnel on incidents. So let's see if there's one for an average. So when he says average, I'm going to start off with not so much percentage response. That's going to show the percentage of response by rank, or in this case, by personnel. That might do it, but I'm going to try this one first. So I've got this one, average number of responding personnel per hour for date range or per incident type. So let's see if this is working. So Stephen, tell me if this is what you were looking for. This is report number 1143, and this is the average number of personnel on this incident type. So let me know if that's a good one. And if anybody else has one, let me know. But that's report 1143. And I'll wait for Stephen's response. But as I'm doing that, let's go to next question. Greg Lopez, do you know if the Marine Corps is working on that change to 1641? Greg, I haven't heard. So reach out to Chief Pritchard, maybe, or reach out to Chief Pritchard, and maybe they'll have an answer for you. I haven't been connected with that, but if it isn't, let me know. Okay, here we go. Sean wants to know. Steven says that will work. Okay, cool. 1143 works. Sean, what report for most active personnel? So I need a little more specifics on that, Sean. When you say most active, are you talking about on incidents or in general? When they participate in training, participate in events, enter items into the daily log? So let me know which one that is. Okay, Brian, I hope I answered your questions regarding those reports, and I think you're spot on. They're just not showing the county because the county doesn't have any calls yet. And those were those wildland reports we were talking about earlier. Okay, report 1168. This is from Daniel. Hours spent for activity code for personnel for date range. So Sean, this may go along with what you're looking for. So let's go to today. And you can see this is an older report because I don't have a calendar picker. I've got to type in the calendar dates. All right, so I'm going to run this. I'm going to run it for someone that wouldn't mind me sharing this with them because that's my friend Steven. Okay, yes, percentage column. What is this calculating? I had this question asked of me when on my training session last week. Okay, so the question is, over here on the far right, what in the world is this percent total time calculating? I crunched it once before, and someone could probably confirm this for me, but what this is doing is it's taking the total amount of time in hours and dividing 8.95 divided by the total number of hours during that time period. Total number of hours. So it's looking at the 24-hour period. Good question. Does that answer? Does that help, Daniel? Stevens reports. Okay. So let's see. Sean and Stacy, most active personnel. Again, is it most active on incidents or most active in the department? Okay, let me per incident. Oh, okay, most active per incident. Got it. So the question, repeating it so everybody can stay with me here. They want to know who is most active on incidents. Whoops, I don't want to go to the incident. As I say it, I click on it. All right, so most active on incidents. So what I would do, I would start off with in reports, in the incidents category within reports, go to personnel. Now we can do it a couple ways. You want to see the time spent on incidents, we can do that. And we can see personnel hours for incidents for date range. And you want to see a count. That's not going to show. So these older reports don't always show. Here we go. So this one, let's see if this is one of the ones that would be helpful to you guys. This will show you most active as far as hours. There's also one we can run for count. So this shows you not only, this shows you the incidents that they went on, but the total time they spent on incidents. That's one report. That is report number 1204, 1204. Yeah, responding. And this is incident count per personnel, per station. So this gives you a raw count of numbers. Okay, is that pretty good, Stacy and Sean, for most active personnel? And just if it's not quite what you're looking for, the place to look is under incidents. Spend some time here on personnel count, percentage response, and time spent if you're looking for high level numbers. Okay, so the change, Michael, the change that Greg's talking about to report number 1641 is we need either one, an apparatus picker, or I'm going to recommend better than an apparatus picker is, either one would work, I guess, but an apparatus type picker for incidents. So maybe if you have any insight on that, if you're working with the Marine Corps on that, we can maybe answer that. Okay, in this report, I see +1 codes for incident types. Is this something I can create? So rich incident +1 codes, all right. I know other RMSs talk about or have the ability to add +1 codes. The only +1 codes we have available are for the DoD, and they are the official Department of Defense, or I should say the officially accepted +1 codes from the Department of Defense. We don't have the ability to customize or allow the user to add +1 codes to the NFIRS data, although that is a story that has been requested by other customers, a user story that's been presented. So I don't know where that stands as far as whether or not we're going to do it or not. What I always recommend people do is in a report, in an incident report, if that is a critical field, to just go ahead and create a custom question. And they're not using custom questions, but you could create a custom question to capture that +1 code. And then you can run reports on that. There's quite a few really great reports for custom questions. So I hope that answered your question. Marvin asks, how did you show all the reports that are available with the numbers? So 779 is your go-to report. That's your master list of reports. Okay. So what I need to do real quick here is I need to go to a report, what I want to send to you guys, and I'm just going to drag and drop the link here to share with you because they are tools we use. give me just a second to pull it up, is I want to show you. They're what I call job aids. So this is an annual report job aid. And again, it's just our team has come up with these as kind of some best practice reports that you can use, and an explanation of what they are. Please open. And you can use them. And since we are in GoToWebinar, I can actually drag and drop those to you guys, and you can have them immediately. So this one was prepared for our first Virtual Thursday of this year, and it just talks about, and I guarantee you guys have others that you use, but these are ones we find that are commonly used for annual reports within a department. And I want to make sure we answer the rest of these questions before we close today, so I want to do that. And I know as long as everybody's good with kind of the update on the new reports, I love it when there's questions like this, because then I'm sure if there's one person has this question, others do too. So we'll tackle some of these questions. So I'm going to send this to everybody right now. Give me just a second, and you can have it as a resource. So I'm on two screens, so bear with me. Okay, it's loading, and I have one more I want to give you. One is on training reports, and this one summarizes, at the time I wrote this, so I think we may have added one or two training reports or modified them, but this basically summarizes each report, gives some highlights in different colors, and then in the yellow highlight is kind of when it's ideal for you, an ideal use for that report. So I'm going to give you guys that one too. And you should have them under handouts. If anybody did not get them, let me know. And the last one that I've been given permission to share, that I think it's a terrific example, and it's something that is just a beautiful thing. Let me show you. Hershey, Pennsylvania, yes, home of all the chocolate we eat, did a beautiful annual report. And as you look at this annual report, I'm just going to scroll really fast, so I'm sorry about the blurriness, but you'll recognize the tables they're pulling them from. This is all from our system. And this is just a really great example, but I've seen other really good ones too. And he's given me the permission, the chief there, to share this, so I'm going to share this one as an example. It's a PDF, and I think you'll find a lot of value in it. It's a little bigger, so it might take a little longer to load. All right, so as we wrap up the next 10 minutes, I want to answer the rest of the questions, and they're coming in fast and furious. So let's see. Regarding points, this is from Edmund. Is there a way to create a report showing total points per employee per day range? There is. And guys, just somebody just ping me to confirm that you got those reports, those job aids rather, that they came through on handouts. And so the question was regarding points. Is there a way to create a report showing total points per employee per day range? Okay, so if you're using the points in our system, I know not everybody does. I'm not even sure this department's using it, but I know we have a great summary report that does that. And let's see, where is that at? I think it's under payroll. And we've got this particular report, personal summary and percentage of points per incident, training, and events. Those are the only three things in our system that produce points, that use points. And so let me run it. You'll at least be able to see what it looks like, even though there's not going to be any data. Oh, there is. Oh, well, there's no data because they're not using it. But this will give you each person's total incident points, then the percentage of possible, basically their points towards the percentage possible, training, events, and then a grand total of points. How's that, Edmund? Okay, a couple more. Come on, go to meeting. Don't lock up on me. Everybody can still hear me, right? Job aids came through. Awesome. Hold on, my questions panel is not scrolling. Hang on. There we go. Okay, Stephen, is there a report that shows the correlation of activity code and shifts work? We require personnel to work out 70% of the shift's work. Vacations and trades would need to be calculated. Oh, okay, so yeah, that is a great question. And so what we're looking at here is we're talking about reports and we're looking at the daily log. And so what he would be looking at is under activity code, hours spent for activity code for personnel. And he wants to capture from a date range how many hours someone did PT, for example. See if they use PT in here. Okay, they may not document their PT, but let's just pick our standby and we want to run it for a date range for the month of August and for one person in this case. So the short answer is there's not one that correlates and lets you know whether they were off or on shift. However, if you run this report coupled with the daily roster report for the days that they were on sick, you can use those two reports to calculate how many hours of PT they should have worked. But the short answer is there's not a single report that's going to do that for you. And that's for Stephen. Okay, so we don't use the payroll report from Amanda. We don't use the payroll report or feature in ERS, but is there still a report that shows the total hours per person that they've worked? Does the payroll feature need to be turned on in order to see these hours? They don't. If you don't bother with the payroll module, you can, probably the best solution I have for this is under reports. If you are using the daily roster, you can run a report to show hours worked for personnel for date range, and it will break it down by activity code. All right, and that's if you're using the rosters. That's the best way to track that because we have departments that use this to kind of double check their payroll to see, okay, how many hours were they on regular shift, trade on, trade off, vacation, sick, military leave, all of that. So your best bet there, Amanda, is going to be under the daily roster for tracking that. Okay, so Rich, I thought I would ask, saw it and thought I would ask. I have made the custom question. Um, didn't know if I could do it with regular incident types. Yeah, custom questions. It actually this is also kind of frustrating for some because every custom question you create applies to every incident report. We don't have the built-in business rules to where it could filter by incident type and only give you the questions in custom questions. So here we're talking about incidents. If you create a custom question, it has to be answered for each incident type, and those can be made required or not required. And again, I love custom questions because it gives me flexibility to capture data that NFRS doesn't otherwise capture. And Brian, thank you for, yep, it is 779 for the person that had asked about the master list of reports. So thank you for chiming in and giving help there. And we've got Brian. What are part reports? Oh, these reports. Now these aren't new, but these pertain to NFPA 1500. No, I take that back. Not NFPA 1500, the NFPA annual reporting. That's going to be under incidents. So this is what Brian's asking about. Under fire, we've got the NFPA annual survey. These are reports, if any of you get the survey sent to you from NFPA or submit to the NFPA, this is what they want. And so these various reports, for example, here, it breaks it down into the format that NFPA needs. That's what these reports are. And so if you look at the NFPA annual survey, probably run a Google search on it, you can see what that report is asking for, and that's what these reports deliver. Okay, going through the questions. Love it, guys. Thank you for the questions here today. Okay, last question. Mike. Hey, Mike from our Cleveland Regional Training Academy. Mike, good to have you on here with us today. Is there any report that ties to the new fuel maintenance type? Currently, only here in when we have the ability to filter for maintenance type right here, you can run a report just for the fuel. And there are other reports coming because here's the thing. You're going to watch with this report and you guys are going to see it immediately because you're all sharp ER customers. This is a great report, but what column is missing from this report when it comes to fuel? I know what you're all shouting at me right now. Gallons, okay, or liters if you're international. So we're aware of that, and what you guys will discover is there are sometimes there's features in our system that get executed, and then reports have to catch up to those features. That's one of them. So I bet that's what Mike is, yes, cost of gallons. Yep. Last question. Can you add report number on favorites? Oh, I love this question. Okay, so what Brian's asking, Brian, you're like a power user, man. So what Brian's asking is under reports, can you add a report number on favorites and then allow us to sort alphabetically or alphanumerically by report number? Sadly, the answer is no. However, there have been two, and again, I say this with hope, that there are user stories that have been written, and I've seen them, that allow for you, the customer, the user, to go in, and it's called daily log items for personnel for date range. You go in and just change the title of it in your favorites, so it's something you can. I mean, you know these reports, and so you click on them and know them. But to make it, it's like creating a bookmark in your browser and then renaming the bookmark instead of the whole URL. It's just simply emergency reporting login. That's the kind of user story we want to do here. So you can just rename these and make them, your name that you know that you need to use them for each day or each month or each year whenever you run those reports. So is it there yet? It isn't. However, go vote it up. Check out the feature request, and if it's there, and I think it's there. If it's not on the feature request, I've seen the actual story. But if you click on the feature request, click in how can we improve emergency reporting, and let's go to what do I want to call this? Try favorites. See if someone put it in there as favorites. Yep, 42 votes right now. I'm going to send you guys the link. Go vote for this. This is what I'm talking about. Custom name, a report so it's a name that's familiar to you. I'm going to put that in the GoToMeeting. Give me back my control panel. I'm going to put this in the link to you guys. Okay, coming up in the chat, and there's a link. All right, guys, we are just past the top of the hour. Thank you very, very much for spending time with me today. I know you're all busy, and I hope you found today's Virtual Thursday helpful. I'm recording it. It'll be posted by Monday into our webinars archive here under support. So if you need to share with somebody or review it, it'll be posted here under webinars on demand. And more than anything, not only for participating today, for all the great questions. Oh, one last question. Got to see this, guys. Yes, Chris got it. Diesel versus gasoline, because you have both types in your fleet. So that's been discussed too with our maintenance team or maintenance module product owner to document also the fuel type. Let's see. Geez, Brian, that's right. You're on a freebie system. Wait till you get the account in your department. You're going to be killing it, man. Good job. Okay, so Is there any plan for like an ad hoc report? Rich is asking, a customer-based report builder. So, while this wasn't necessarily today's topic, everybody go to your web page, your welcome page. If you're logged in, at the home page, at the end of the URL, types /query builder, and I'll put this link in the chat also for everybody. Then we'll wrap this baby up. So it's not a completed product. We don't market it, we don't advertise it, but we share it with our customers with the caveat that it's a big red letters here, pre-release version, not fully supported at this time, and it doesn't pull from all aspects of the system, but it allows you to look at the different database tables, select certain columns. So let's say if I want to do incident reports, fire, I can pull and check certain elements and then filter them here. So it's not as sexy as our reports, with the formatting, but it's going to give you the data and then you can download it to Excel or save the query. That would be a topic for a future virtual Thursday to go over this in depth and to practice with it. Chris, yeah, buddy, no changes to the query builder since Cleveland. Like I said, it's not getting love at the moment. We've got so many other development projects going on right now that it's not getting a lot of attention, but it is there, and a lot of departments have found it useful, especially their data guys, to just kind of hone into certain elements of the data that within their system they're looking for. Give it a shot, Rich. I hope that helps a little bit. And please just know it's not finished. So if you're looking for certain fields and it's not there, it's not that we purposely missed it or there's a bug or anything. It's just it's not a finished product. But we know that there's a need for this. We know there's a need for this, and so we'd be remiss not to at least tell you something like this is there, at least to get you going at some level. So. All right, guys. Hey, thank you for the kind words, everybody, Chris, and for everybody participating today. And listen, have a wonderful weekend coming up. And I'm going to go fight some jet lag and get a few more things done for today. We'll see you in a couple weeks at the next Virtual Thursday. And again, I'll hang tight for just a minute, just in case anybody's got a last minute question. All right, you're welcome, everybody. Thanks again. Enjoy those documents too, and if you got questions, just reach out to us.